My shaykhis to Rabbi Shvei began when we were Talmidim in Shir Gimel in Mesivta. He was our Maggid Shir. Interestingly, the following year when we graduated to Zal, he was also promoted, and he was my Maggid Shir for 2 years in a row. I want to share a vort, and I want to share a personal story. First, the vort. Rabbi Shvei was once talking to us about Emunah, B'tochen, as man darf sich verlassen auf den Eibishten. And he said, I remember he said like this, he said, when he was a little boy back in Russia, him and his friends would teach a pasuk. There's a pasuk we say every day in davening. Al tiftachu bin divim ve'nodem shein leitshua teitzei rucha yoshev lad mosei b'yemahu avda eshteneisav as memuzach verlassen auf den Eibishten. So as children in Russia, they would teach like this. They would teach as memuzach verlassen auf den Eibishten. Und der, was verlässt sich auf Menschen, et sof kol sof verlieren die Hesen. Verlieren die Hesen is an expression in Yiddish. Somebody gets into trouble. You'll get into trouble. Me verlässt sich auf Menschen, et me verlieren die Hesen. See, in Russian, Hesen in Russian is shtani. Of du erstein neusov, verlieren die Hesen. Me muss sich verlassen auf den Eibishten. It was a very geschmackig word. I don't think any of my friends remember it. I'm not sure how many people heard this word from him or remember this word from him, but it was a very geschmackig word. And in the last 30 years, I must have thought about this word bli guzma hundreds of times. Now the personal story. In those years, I used to do some posters, drawings when it came to Lag BaOmer parade, things like that. And I learned how to make the letters decently. I used to do all the letters properly. But there was one letter I couldn't get, an aleph. I couldn't get the aleph right. It's a very difficult letter to draw, and I couldn't get it right. I remember one time, Rabbi Shvei sat down next to me with a pencil and paper. Rabbi Shvei was an artist. I don't know how many people know this. Rabbi Shvei was an artist. He sat down next to me, and he started to teach me and to guide me. Früher darf man machen a Kästele, und später darf man machen a Steckele, und a See macht man, over and over again, until I was able to master the aleph. Mamish, like a father, would sit with a son till he got it right. I remember as it mishtag der Numen nen. Bichlal, Rabbi Shvei wasn't just a Maggid Shir. He was I always looked at him as an alter chassidische mechanech. Not only in the way he cared about the Bachrim, but also in his own hanhoge, in his own hadroche, in his own his sprach, his chassidische meises. He would make a Melav Malke. In the winter, he would make a Melav Malke for us every Motzei Shabbos. He wasn't a mashpia, he wasn't a mechanech, he was a Maggid Shir. But he would dedicate every Friday night to sit in his house. He would make the Melav Malke in his house. Sometimes it was in some Talmidim's houses, but Mirge denkt sich that it was in his house. And he would, every Motzei Shabbos, he would make a Melav Malke. Tell us chassidische meises. So I looked at him. If I had to envision what an Amoliker chassidischer Maggid Shir, what an Amoliker chassidischer mashpia looked like, that's the way I always envisioned it. soll sein a guter Beter, Mishpache soll nur wissen von Simches, wie kitze wir an und Sheikhne Afar, wo Hube Seicham, and all those who sein weg in den befraten die letzte Tkufe, take of me ad mamish.